Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Monday, the 14th of February 2022, and we're producing our regular morning gold and silver price update, together with economic data and geopolitical news. So let's take a look. Over the weekend, we produced 3 videos, 2 basically providing our weekly update, and the latest published yesterday afternoon entitled Gold and Silver 2022 Price Forecast Update. And we've placed links to all 3 in the description box below. Let's now take a look at what is happening in the news this morning. Well, it's 9:38 on Monday morning, 14th of Feb. And the news headlines mainly focusing, surprise, surprise, on Ukraine. European energy prices, though, jump on mounting tension over Ukraine. And then we see another headline here, $100 oil threatens to compound world's economy's inflation shock. Now, those who've listened to our channel for many months will be aware that we highlighted, really it was almost 6 months ago, where traders in the know were saying we're going to have $100 oil again in the not too distant future. Now, some of them were expecting it a little sooner than now, but that said, it's been on the cards for a while, and these are the sort of, unfortunately, secret discussions going on behind closed doors, some of which we occasionally gain insight into. Mostly we don't, but at the end of the day, our contacts very rarely let us down. So let's have a look at this $100 oil prediction. Oil's surge towards $100 a barrel for the first time since 2014 is threatening to deal a double blow to the world economy by further denting growth prospects and driving up inflation. Now, in case you're wondering what the price of oil is at this precise moment, we can see that WTI crude is at $93.31 and Brent crude is at $94.64. So Brent crude is just a little over, or just a little under, $5.50 before that touches $100. In combination for the US Federal Reserve and fellow central banks as they seek to contain the strongest price pressures in decades without derailing recoveries from the pandemic. Group of 20 finance chiefs meet virtually this week for the first time this year, with inflation among their top concerns. And those who've listened to our weekly update will be aware that, and certainly on the daily updates late last week, will certainly be aware that there were calls for potentially the Fed, or there were fears that the Fed were going to raise rates before their March 15th, 16th meeting. We've stated we don't believe that they will, but the finance chiefs meeting this week will certainly be having some serious discussions about being quite aggressive, because if inflation is not combated, then currency devaluation occurs, quite frankly, at an alarming rate in the end. Though the Fed has an advantage because of the dollar being the global currency. What tends to happen is other currencies suffer first, and there's a flight to the US dollar. Energy exporters stand to benefit from the boom, and oil's influence on economies isn't what it was once. Much of the world will take a hit as companies and consumers find their bills rising and spending power squeezed by costlier food, transportation and heating. According to Bloomberg Economics' shock model, a climb in crude to $100 by the end of this month from around $70 at the end of 2021 would lift inflation by about 0.5 percentage point in the US and Europe in the second half of the year. Of course, when you have CPI at 7.5%, you have various countries' inflation rates recorded at above 5%, and they're all aiming for 2%. To be told that oil going to $100 will add 0.5% to those figures, you can see why they are concerned. Business news on the BBC. In the UK, airfares rise or I should say airfare rises are unavoidable, warns airline boss. For those involved in cryptos and NFTs, this is interesting. HMRC, that's Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, our tax authority, seizes NFTs for the first time in a £1.4 million fraud case. US-Canada. Of course, Canada besought by the bridge protesters. However, police have cleared the costly bridge blockade at Windsor. Our 2 weeks of protests about to end. So the police have now moved in. Now, let's take a look as to what is happening to the US dollar. We can see that the dollar index spot index is 96.24. That's up 0.16. We forecast that it will touch 97 before the end of March, if not sooner, and quite likely around the time of the FOMC announcement on the 16th of March. Stocks. We highlighted in our weekly update what happened to US stocks last week. They were all down, but in effect, because of what happened on Friday, you had the Dow down 1.4, the S&P down 1.9, and the Nasdaq down 2.78. And for the month, 3%, 5%, and 7% down respectively. With the exception of the Nasdaq, the other two indices are up for the year. Asia Pacific overnight broadly down, ranging between 1 and 2%, and a bigger hit in Europe today, which is really what we anticipated, unfortunately, with markets down 3% across the board, except for the UK, which is down 1.7%. Not very good for those invested in equities or in pension funds, which predominantly will be invested in equities. And again, one of the reasons why we converted most, not all, but most of our pension fund out of equities and into cash or other assets late last year. And we're pleased that we've done that, because we would now be looking at probably a 10% fall since we actually moved those monies. Economic data. Today, not an awful lot happening. We have the St. Louis Fed President James Bullard being interviewed, which may be interesting. But frankly, the producer price index and the manufacturing index tomorrow is more relevant, and a big day on Wednesday, retail sales. Gold price this morning. I shall refresh the page so it's bang up to date. Gold is down $2 at $1,856. It did open higher, which is what we really expected. To be fair, we probably expected it to hold at about this sort of level, the 1860 level, but it has fallen back a little, but we're only talking a few dollars. Silver also rose and is now up a healthy 16 cents. You can see the gyrations, but we are talking a relatively small spread still, but it looks like silver is staying in positive territory. And cryptocurrency markets down as expected, in line with equity markets and particularly the Nasdaq, and we can see the global crypto market is now down to 1.87 trillion, with Bitcoin desperately trying to hang on to $42,000. We see cryptos falling further. We make no bones about that. While we have geopolitical tensions, while we have equity markets in a little bit of a free fall, crypto markets, which really performed extraordinarily well in 2020 to 2021, has to take a hit at some point. And we suspect that 2022 is the year that it will take that hit. That's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. Please watch out for any emergency videos we put out. And the only way you'll know is either you look at our channel 24 hours a day, or perhaps more beneficially for you, press that bell sign after you've subscribed. So when we do produce a video, you'll be notified immediately. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Until tomorrow. Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management, and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice, and merely represent the personal views of its owners.